They told her 50 were coming. Vera didn't ask how they knew. She asked when. Her head of security bled out on her office floor 3 hours ago. The cleaning crew found him with his own sidearm in his mouth and a single word carved into his forearm: mercy. Suicide, they said. She knew better. You don't beg for mercy from yourself. Her second-in-command recommended Shadow. She didn't recognize the name. That was the point. He walked in without knocking. No hesitation. No announcement. Just presence, the kind that makes trained killers check their exits. Her remaining guards shifted weight, hands drifting toward holsters they didn't draw. Shadow stopped 3 feet from her desk. His face was calm. Empty. The expression of someone who'd stopped counting. You have 48 hours, he said. Maybe less. Vera leaned back. Studied him. Black. Mid-30s. Built like violence, had a practical application. No jewelry. No tells. His eyes scanned her office in a pattern she recognized. Threat assessment, exit routes, kill zones. Professional. You come highly recommended, she said. I don't come recommended. I come when the recommendations are already dead. The room temperature dropped. One of her guards stepped forward. Shadow didn't look at him. The guard stopped. Your rate? Vera asked. Depends. On what? Whether you want them all dead or just gone. She should have asked for credentials, references, proof. Instead, she asked the only question that mattered. Can you keep me alive? Shadow's expression didn't change. I haven't decided yet. Before the Black Wolf moves, what city are you watching from? Shadow placed a single sheet of paper on her desk. These are my terms. Vera didn't touch it. Her remaining guards, for men who'd survived 3 regime changes, formed a loose perimeter behind her. Tense. Ready. She scanned the document. 3 sentences. No negotiation clause. Full operational control, she read aloud. No oversight. No questions. Correct. That's not how I run things. Then you'll die how you run things. One of her guards, Martinez, 10 years loyal, took a half step forward. Watch your tone. Shadow still hadn't looked at anyone but Vera. She raised one hand. Martinez stopped, but his jaw locked tight. You want me to give you total authority over my security, Vera said. My people. My property. My life. I don't want anything. You called me. My second called you. He knew what you needed before you did. That's why he's still breathing. The fluorescent lights hummed. Someone's hand was definitely on a gun now. Vera leaned forward. What makes you think? The window exploded inward. Glass shattered across her desk. Vera's instinct was to drop, but Shadow was already moving. He crossed the room in 2 strides, grabbed her by the collar, and yanked her sideways as the second bullet punched through her leather chair. They hit the floor together. His weight pinned her behind the desk. South building, he said into his phone. When had he made a call? 3rd floor. Suppressed rifle. Moving now. Martinez and the others finally drew weapons, scanning windows, shouting coordinates. Shadow was already on his feet. He moved to the shattered window, looked out for exactly 2 seconds, then crossed to Martinez. Give me your weapon. The hell I will. Shadow took it. Not violently. Just efficiently. Martinez barely processed the disarm before Shadow ejected the magazine, checked the chamber, and handed it back empty. Compromised, Shadow said. Firing pin's been filed. You'd have pulled a dead trigger. Martinez stared at his useless gun. Shadow turned to the others. Pointed at 2 guards Vera had trusted for years. You. Out. Now. We're not going anywhere, one snapped. Then you'll die here. Shadow's voice didn't rise. Your positions were sold 4 hours ago. They knew where she'd be sitting. They knew her chair height. They knew which window. Vera stood slowly, glass in her hair. Her heart was hammering, but her voice came out cold. How do you know that? Shadow finally looked at her fully. Because I'm the one who'd have taken the shot. Silence. But I'm expensive, he continued. And someone bought me first. He picked up the contract from her desk. Held it out. So, do we have terms? Outside, sirens started wailing. Vera took the paper. If you believe the quietest person in the room is often the deadliest, hit like now. Martinez was staring at his sabotaged gun like it was a snake. She signed. Shadow had her moved to the East Wing within 20 minutes. No discussion. No consultation. He walked through her penthouse like he'd built it, pointing at walls, doors, sight lines. Her guards followed, writing nothing down, understanding less. This room, he said, stopping at her private study. You sleep here now. That's my office. It has one entrance. Reinforced door. No windows. He turned to face her. Unless you prefer the bedroom with 3 access points and floor-to-ceiling glass. Vera said nothing. He moved on. Martinez stayed close to her, still rattled. His weapon had been reloaded, by someone Shadow approved. The 2 guards Shadow had identified were gone. Escorted out by her own people, protesting the entire way. She hadn't countermanded the order. That bothered her more than the sniper. They were halfway down the corridor when Shadow stopped. Tilted his head slightly. Listening. Then he moved. Fast. He grabbed Vera's arm and shoved her into Martinez, sending them both stumbling backward. In the same motion, Shadow dropped low and swept left as a door, her guest suite, burst open. A man emerged, suppressed pistol raised. Shadow closed the distance before the assassin could acquire a target. His hand locked on the weapon, redirecting it upward as a muffled shot punched into the ceiling. Plaster rained down. The fight lasted 3 seconds. Shadow broke the man's wrist, stripped the gun, and put 2 rounds into his chest. Center mass. Clinical. The assassin collapsed. Before anyone could react, Shadow was moving again, into the suite, weapon raised. Vera heard a muffled impact. A choked gasp. Then silence. He emerged dragging a second body. Younger. Still breathing but unconscious. Clear, Shadow said. Martinez had his gun up, scanning wildly. The other guards looked pale. Shadow zip-tied the unconscious assassin's wrists and ankles. Efficient. Practiced. Vera stared at the dead man in her hallway. He was wearing her security uniform. The badges looked real. The ID clipped to his belt had the right holographic seal. I know him, Martinez whispered. Rodriguez. He's been here 6 months. 7, Shadow corrected. He checked the dead man's pockets, pulled out a phone. Activated 3 weeks ago. Sleeper. That's impossible. We vetted. You vetted the identity they sold you. Shadow stood, pocketing the phone. The real Rodriguez is probably in a landfill. Vera's hands weren't shaking. She wouldn't let them. How many more? She asked. Shadow looked at her. Something flickered in his expression. Appraisal, maybe. Or respect. In your organization? At least 4. Names. I have 3 confirmed. The 4th. He glanced at Martinez. Then back to her. Still working on it. The implication hung in the air like gun smoke. Martinez caught it. You think I think everyone's suspect until they're dead or proven. Shadow nudged the unconscious assassin with his boot. We'll start with him. If you believe loyalty isn't given, it's earned. Comment respect below. Vera looked at the body. At Martinez's pale face. At Shadow's complete calm. Who did you say recommended you? She asked quietly. Shadow smiled for the first time. It didn't reach his eyes. The interrogation room was a wine cellar Vera's predecessor had converted for exactly this purpose. Concrete walls. Soundproofing. A drain in the floor that had seen use. Shadow zip-tied the assassin to a steel chair bolted into the foundation. No theatrics. Just efficiency. Vera stood in the corner, arms crossed. Martinez remained outside, Shadow's orders. The other guards had been redistributed. She didn't know where. She was alone with Shadow and a man who'd tried to kill her. The assassin woke up slowly. Blinked. Assessed. His training showed in how quickly he controlled his breathing. "You're going to tell me who hired you," Shadow said. No preamble. Go to hell. Shadow nodded like he'd expected that. He pulled a folded paper from his jacket and laid it on the metal table between them. Not a paper. A photograph. The assassin's face changed. Vera couldn't see the image from her angle, but she watched the man's pupils dilate. Watched his jaw clench. "Your daughter," Shadow said quietly. "Turns 6 next month. Ballet on Tuesdays. Soccer on Thursdays. Her mother picks her up at 3:15 from Riverside Elementary." The assassin's breathing accelerated. "You have 12 seconds to start talking," Shadow continued. "Or I make a phone call and she never makes it to ballet." Vera's stomach turned cold. The man broke in 8. "Caldwell," he gasped. "Marcus Caldwell set it up. He's coordinating everything. Payments, positions, timing." Vera's world tilted. Marcus Caldwell. Her logistics director. The man who'd reorganized her entire supply chain last year. Who'd saved her operation a fortune in efficiency. Who knew every route. Every warehouse. Every safe house. "Keep going," Shadow said. "He's got 5 of us inside. Rodriguez was supposed to take her during the relocation. I was backup." The assassin was talking faster now, desperate. "There's more coming. A real team. Professionals. We're just supposed to soften things up." "When?" 2 days. Maybe less. I don't know exactly. Caldwell keeps it compartmentalized." Shadow pulled out his phone. Showed the man a photo. "Is this Caldwell?" The assassin nodded frantically. Shadow put the phone away. Then he looked at Vera for the first time since they'd entered. His expression was empty. "Did you know?" she asked. Her voice sounded distant in her own ears. "I suspected." "How long?" 3 weeks. The room went very quiet. "You've been watching my organization for 3 weeks," Vera said slowly. "Before I hired you. Before the contracts were placed." Shadow didn't deny it. "Who sent you?" He stood. Moved toward the door. "Someone who wanted you alive," he said. "Whether that's still true depends on what you do in the next 10 minutes. He left. Vera stood alone with the assassin, her mind racing through every conversation she'd had with Caldwell. Every decision he'd influenced. Every vulnerability he'd created. The assassin was crying softly. She still didn't know if Shadow was saving her or setting her up. But Caldwell she could handle. She pulled out her phone. Shadow had Caldwell's office sealed before Vera could make the call. She found him in the corridor, phone already to his ear, coordinating with people she'd never authorized him to command. Her people. Taking his orders without hesitation. "Stand down," he said into the phone. Then to her, "Caldwell ran 20 minutes ago." "How?" "He had your wine cellar wired. Heard everything." Shadow pocketed his phone. "He's good. better than the others. Vera's jaw tightened. Where would he go? Nowhere. He's still in the building. That's insane. He knows we're coming. He knows I'm coming. That's why he's staying. Shadow started walking. He's got leverage somewhere. Insurance. He wouldn't run without securing it first. She followed. Had to. He moved like he knew where he was going. They took a service elevator down. Shadow pressed the button for sublevel 3. Vera had only been down there once. Storage. Archives. Infrastructure access. The kind of place you could hide something. Or someone. The elevator descended in silence. Vera watched Shadow's reflection in the polished doors. He wasn't tense. Wasn't bracing. Just waiting. 3 weeks, she said quietly. He didn't look at her. You've been inside my operation for 3 weeks. Watching. Documenting. You knew about Rodriguez. About Caldwell. She paused. You knew about the 50 assassins before anyone told me. Yes. So I'll ask again. Who sent you? The elevator stopped. Doors opened onto darkness. Shadow stepped out first. Emergency lighting cast everything in red. The air smelled like concrete and electricity. Someone who couldn't afford to hire me officially, he said. Someone who knew what was coming and couldn't stop it alone. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting right now. He moved into the shadows. Vera hesitated, then followed. Her heels echoed on concrete. Shadow made no sound at all. They passed storage cages, old filing systems, mechanical rooms humming with HVAC equipment. The building's skeleton. Shadow navigated without hesitation, like he'd memorized the blueprints. He probably had. He stopped at an unmarked door. Listened. Then looked back at her. Stay behind me. Don't speak. Don't move unless I tell you. This is your building. Your organization. Your mess. His voice was flat. And you're alive because I'm better at this than you are. So stay behind me. The words should have been insulting. Instead, they felt true. Shadow opened the door. Inside was a server room. Massive. Rows of blinking equipment humming in climate-controlled darkness. And Marcus Caldwell, laptop open, typing frantically. He looked up. Saw Shadow. His hand moved toward something under the desk. Don't, Shadow said. Caldwell froze. She's here, isn't she? Caldwell's voice was steady despite everything. Vera. I know you brought her. Shadow said nothing. I need to talk to her. That's why I stayed. Caldwell's eyes found hers in the darkness. Vera. Please. You need to hear this before he kills me. If you believe real power doesn't announce itself, subscribe and watch the underestimated rise. Shadow's hand rested casually near his weapon. Vera stepped forward. Your mentor put the contract out, Caldwell said. Before he died. Delayed execution. I found the order in his encrypted files 6 months ago. Vera's breath caught. You're lying. I wish I was. Caldwell's fingers hovered over his keyboard. He wanted you eliminated if you ever tried to expand east. You did. Last quarter. The contract activated automatically. Shadow hadn't moved. Hadn't spoken. So you decided to help them kill me? Vera's voice was ice. I decided to control the situation. Keep you alive long enough to. The lights died. Complete darkness. Then emergency reds flickered on, casting everything in blood tones. Shadow moved instantly. Grabbed Vera, pushed her behind a server rack. They're here, he said. Who? The door they'd entered through exploded inward. Flashbangs followed. Vera's vision whited out, ears screaming. Shadow's hand stayed locked on her wrist, pulling her, moving. She couldn't see, couldn't hear, just followed his grip through the chaos. Gunfire, muffled through damaged hearing. Sparks where bullets hit metal. Shadow shoved her down behind industrial cooling units, his body between her and the door. Her vision cleared in fragments. 6 men. No, 8. Tactical gear. Moving in coordinated patterns. Professional. One of her guards stumbled through the doorway behind them. Jenkins. He raised his weapon. Shadow's hand shot out, grabbed Jenkins' gun arm and redirected it. The guard's shot went wide, hitting an attacker instead. Jenkins looked confused. Then understanding dawned. He'd been turning the weapon toward Vera. Shadow broke his elbow and took his gun in one motion. The attackers were advancing, using Jenkins' entry as cover. Shadow fired twice, controlled bursts, dropping one attacker, wounding another. Not enough. Vera saw it in his posture. The math didn't work. 8 against 1, and he had to keep her alive. Coldwell. Shadow shouted. North exit. Now. Caldwell was already moving, laptop abandoned. He knew the facility. Started running toward maintenance tunnels. The attackers split. 4 followed Caldwell. 4 came for Vera. Shadow stepped into the open. Drew their attention. Their fire. He moved like violence was choreographed. Using server racks as cover, firing between their shots, each movement calculated to make them adjust, reposition, expose themselves. 2 more went down. But one flanked wide, impossibly fast, and suddenly had an angle on Vera. Shadow saw it. Made a choice. He grabbed the wounded Jenkins and threw him into the shooter's line of fire. Jenkins took 3 rounds. Died instantly. The assassin's position was exposed for half a second. Shadow put him down. The last attacker ran. Silence. Except for alarms. Distant shouting. Her organization responding too late. Shadow checked the bodies. Professional. Thorough. Then he turned to her. Vera stared at Jenkins' corpse. A man she'd known for 3 years. Used as a human shield. He was already compromised, Shadow said quietly. You killed him. He was going to kill you. I just chose when. Her hands were shaking now. Finally. Shadow's expression was unreadable. Caldwell's gone, he said. We need to move. Did you know? Her voice cracked. Did you know Jenkins was? Yes. The single word hung between them. Vera looked at the bodies. At Shadow. At what survival actually cost. Where's Caldwell going? She whispered. Somewhere I can't follow. Not while keeping you alive. He offered his hand. She took it. They found Caldwell 3 hours later. Or rather, Shadow had known where he'd go all along. The old currency warehouse on the east side. Abandoned for 2 years. Vera had been meaning to sell it. Caldwell was in the manager's office, surrounded by hard drives and printed files. Evidence. His insurance policy. He didn't run when they entered. Just looked tired. I knew you'd find me, he said. Shadow zip-tied him anyway. Thorough. Then stepped back and looked at Vera. Your call. She approached slowly. Caldwell's face was bruised. He'd resisted the team that brought him in. Not Shadow's team. Hers. What remained of it? Why? She asked. I told you. Your mentor. Not that. Why help me at all? Why not just let them kill me and collect whatever they're paying? Caldwell met her eyes. Real regret there. Or a convincing performance. Because the contract is bigger than you know. It's not 50 assassins. It's a complete organizational takeover. Everyone on your board has been approached. Your suppliers. Your distributors. He paused. They're not trying to kill you. They're trying to replace you. The room tilted again. Who? I don't have a name. Just accounts. Offshore. Layered. Caldwell nodded toward the hard drives. That's what I've been compiling. Transaction records. Communications. Patterns. Shadow picked up one of the drives. Examined it. This is real, he said quietly. Vera looked at him sharply. You knew about this too? I knew someone wanted your position. I didn't know the scope. And you didn't think to mention it? You hired me to keep you alive, not to save your empire. His tone was matter-of-fact. Those are different contracts. Caldwell laughed, bitter and broken. He's right, you know. He's not here to protect your organization. Just you. Everything else can burn. Vera's pulse hammered. The files. What do they show? Coordination across 5 syndicates. Eastern Europe. South America. Even some of your domestic competitors. Caldwell's voice dropped. And one name that keeps appearing in the metadata. Someone close to your mentor. Someone who knew his systems. Who? Caldwell hesitated. Looked at Shadow. Then back to Vera. Elena Volkov. The name hit like a physical blow. Elena. Her mentors. What? Partner? Lover? Vera had never been sure. The woman who'd vanished 3 years ago. Presumed dead. That's impossible, Vera whispered. Is it? Shadow's voice was quiet. When did your mentor die? 3 years ago. Heart attack. Convenient timing. The implications assembled themselves. Elena hadn't died. She'd disappeared. And then Vera's mentor died suddenly. And now, 3 years later, a perfectly timed contract activates. She's been planning this the entire time, Vera said slowly. Shadow nodded. And she knows everything about you. Your patterns. Your weaknesses. Your... His phone buzzed. He checked it. His expression shifted, the first real reaction she'd seen. We need to leave. Now. What? The main assault isn't in 2 days. It's happening now. 20 operators. Already inside your building. Only those who see beyond appearances will stay until the last shadow falls. Double tap if you're one of them. Caldwell's eyes widened. They knew you'd come for me. They're hitting while you're exposed. Shadow was already moving. Your people are dying right now. Vera ran. They arrived to gunfire. Shadow drove like physics was negotiable. Vera made 3 calls during the 7-minute drive. Only one went through. Martinez. Barricaded on the executive floor with 6 others. Holding. Barely. Don't engage, Shadow said into his own phone. Someone Vera didn't know. Let them push up. Funnel them to the penthouse level. He was using her people as bait again. The building's underground garage was a kill zone. Shadow entered through a service tunnel she didn't know existed. Emergency access. He'd mapped every entrance. They came up through maintenance shafts. Shadow moved first, weapon ready. Vera followed, unarmed, trusting a man she'd met 18 hours ago. Her building was a war zone. Bodies in the stairwell. Some hers. Some theirs. Blood on marble floors her decorator had spent months selecting. Shadow cleared each level systematically. Not fast. Careful. He wasn't trying to win. He was trying to keep her alive while her organization bled out around them. They found Martinez on the executive floor, bleeding from a shoulder wound. 3 guards left. They'd taken down 5 attackers, but more were coming. Where? Shadow asked. North stairwell. South corridor. Maybe the elevator shaft. We're not sure. Shadow processed. Then looked at Vera. Conference room. Center of the floor. Reinforced walls. One entrance. That's a trap, Martinez said. Yes. Shadow's expression was empty. For them. He positioned everyone. Martinez by the door. 2 guards on flanks. The third, a woman named Chun, at Vera's side. Then Shadow left. Wait, Vera started. I need them to think you're exposed. Stay here. Don't move. Chen dies before you do. Chen's face went pale, but she nodded. Shadow disappeared into the corridor. Vera waited in silence, counting heartbeats, listening to distant gunfire, closer gunfire. Her phone buzzed, messages from other facilities. Her East warehouse under attack. Her distribution center in flames. Coordinated. Comprehensive. Exactly like Caldwell described. 7 minutes passed like hours. Then she heard it. Systematic. Methodical. Shadow working. Flashbangs. Gunfire. Something heavy hitting a wall. Silence. More gunfire. Martinez kept his weapon trained on the door, bleeding steadily. A figure appeared in the doorway. Female. Tactical gear. Moving with the same lethal efficiency as Shadow. Martinez fired. She dodged, impossibly fast, and put 2 rounds in his chest. Chun raised her weapon. The woman shot her in the throat. Then she looked at Vera. Blonde. Early 40s. Eyes like winter. Hello, Vera. Elena Volkov stepped into the room. Your pet assassin is very good, Elena continued, her accent slight but unmistakable. He's killed 14 of my people. I'm impressed. Vera's hands were empty. Useless. This was all you. Your mentor trained us both, darling. But he loved me. Elena smiled. Until he realized I was better at this than he ever was. You killed him. I freed us both. He was weak. Sentimental. He actually cared about you. She raised her weapon. I don't have that problem. Gunfire erupted in the corridor. Elena glanced back. Shadow appeared behind her. Silent. Lethal. Then stopped. Elena's smile widened. Hello, Wolf. Wolf. Vera's blood went cold. If you believe even the coldest hearts can find trust in the right person, comment trust if you're watching Wolf and the Queen navigate danger together. Shadow's weapon stayed raised. But he didn't fire. You know each other, Vera whispered. Elena laughed. Know each other? Darling, I trained him. Shadow's expression didn't change. Move away from her, he said. Voice flat. Professional. Elena didn't lower her weapon. You're predictable, Wolf. Still playing protector. Still thinking you can save people who are already dead. Last chance. Or what? You'll shoot your first instructor? The woman who taught you everything. Elena's smile was cruel. I know every move you'll make before you make it. Shadow fired. Elena moved, exactly as fast as she'd promised, but Shadow had already adjusted. The round caught her shoulder. Not lethal. Intentional. She stumbled back, weapon dropping. Shock registered on her face. You've learned new tricks, she said through gritted teeth. I had a good teacher. Shadow's weapon never wavered. Then I learned from her mistakes. More footsteps in the corridor. Shadow's posture shifted slightly, calculating, assessing. 3 more operatives entered. Elite. Moving with the same precision as Elena. Surrounding them with professional spacing. Shadow positioned himself between them and Vera. His math was impossible now. 4 against 1. Vera unarmed. No cover. The lead operative, Asian, late 30s, radiating competence, studied Shadow with professional interest. "Wolf," he said. "Recognition. It's been years." "Chen." Shadow's voice was neutral. "Still taking contracts from amateurs?" "Elena's many things. Amateur isn't one of them." Chen's weapon stayed trained. "Walk away. You know you can't win this." "Probably not." "So why die for a crime boss you met yesterday?" Shadow was silent for a moment. Then, "Because I chose to." Elena laughed, clutching her shoulder. "How noble. How utterly pointless." "Your people are dead," Shadow said. 14 so far. The 3 you have left won't be enough." 3. Elena's smile returned despite the blood. "Wolf, you've miscounted." The window exploded. Rappelling lines. 2 more operatives crashed through, glass cascading. Military precision. Vera's supposedly secure floor compromised from outside. Shadow moved instantly, grabbed Vera, pulling her behind the conference table as gunfire erupted. The table wouldn't hold. Seconds, maybe. Shadow's jaw tightened. First sign of real tension she'd seen. He was calculating. She could see it. Every angle. Every option. Every equation ending the same way. "There's a vent," he said quietly. "Northwest corner. 3 feet up." "I can't." "You can. I'll buy you 30 seconds. Maybe 40. What about you?" His eyes met hers. Something human flickered there. Brief. Gone. "This is what you paid for." "No." Her voice was steel. "I paid for both of us to survive." "Contracts change." Elena's voice cut through. "How touching. Wolf's found something to die for. I didn't think you had it in you anymore." Shadow checked his ammunition. Almost empty. Vera's mind raced. The building. Her building. She knew things Shadow didn't. Hidden advantages. Old systems. "The fire suppression," she whispered. Shadow's eyes sharpened. "What about it?" "Halon system. Whole floor. Displaces oxygen in 8 seconds. It'll suffocate everyone. Including them." She met his gaze. "Can you hold your breath?" Something like respect crossed his face. 90 seconds. Maybe 2 minutes if I'm lucky. "Do it. If you're ready to see what happens when 2 broken warriors decide the world owes them nothing, hit subscribe and turn on notifications." Shadow smiled. Actually smiled. "Pull the alarm in 5, he said. Then he stood up and started shooting. Shadow drew their fire. Deliberate. Calculated. Every shot he took forced them to reposition, to focus on him instead of scanning for Vera. She crawled toward the wall panel. Glass shards cutting her palms. Martinez's blood slick under her knees. 4 seconds. Elena saw her move. Chun, the woman. Chin pivoted. Shadow put a round through his knee. Chun went down screaming. 3 seconds. Vera reached the panel. Ripped it open. The emergency override was red. Prominent. Required authorization she'd never given Shadow. He'd trusted her to do this. 2 seconds. She pulled it. Klaxons blared. Yellow warning lights strobed. A computerized voice announced, "Halon discharge in 10 seconds. Evacuate immediately." Elena's eyes widened. Everyone out now. Her operatives moved for exits. Professional discipline breaking under survival instinct. Shadow dropped behind cover next to Vera. "Deep breath," he said. "Let it out slow." then hold. The operatives were running. Elena clutched her shoulder, retreating toward the shattered window, repelling line still attached. 5 seconds, the computer announced. Shadow's hand found Vera's. Squeezed once. She exhaled. Slow. Controlled. Inhaled deep. The room filled with invisible gas. Halon, 1301. Oxygen displacement. Suffocation without fire. Chen stopped crawling. Gasped. Clawed at his throat. Went still. One operative made it to the doorway. Collapsed halfway through. Elena reached the window. Started rappelling down. Fast. Desperate. Vera's lungs already burned. 30 seconds gone. Shadow's grip on her hand was steady. Anchor. Promise. 60 seconds. Her vision started tunneling. Shadow's face was calm. Controlled. He wasn't struggling yet. 90 seconds. Her chest screamed. Every instinct said breathe. Shadow's thumb pressed against her pulse point. Monitoring. His other hand stayed on his weapon. Movement at the window. Elena climbing back up. Face mask on. She'd had one ready. Professional preparation. Shadow saw it too. Released Vera's hand. Raised his weapon. Empty. Elena cleared the windowsill. Weapon raised. Blood-soaked but alive. Clever, she said through the mask. Voice muffled. But not clever enough. Shadow stood. Stepped between them. No weapon. No leverage. Just his body as the final barrier. Vera's vision was fading. 2 minutes. Maybe less. Elena aimed at Shadow's head. Move. He didn't. Your funeral. The fire suppression system shut off. Standard protocol. 2-minute cycle. Air rushing back in. Vera gasped. Oxygen flooding her system. Shadow drew one controlled breath. Elena's finger tightened on the trigger. The door burst open. Federal agents. Tactical gear. Weapons raised. FBI. Drop the weapon. Elena froze. Turned. Assessed. 12 agents. No exit. Her operatives dead or disabled. She looked at Shadow. Understanding dawned. You called them, she said quietly. 3 weeks ago. Shadow's voice was steady despite oxygen deprivation. Gave them everything. Locations. Accounts. Your entire network. You used her as bait. I used everyone as bait. He glanced at Vera. She just didn't know it. Elena smiled. Actually smiled. You really have learned. She dropped her weapon. The agents swarmed. Securing. Arresting. Calling for medical. Vera stood on shaking legs. Martinez was dead. Chen was dead. Her organization was shattered. Her mentor's betrayal complete. Shadow watched Elena being led away in restraints. You knew, Vera said. Her voice was raw. Everything. From the beginning. Yes. The 50 assassins. Elena. The takeover. All of it. Yes. So what was I? Just another asset to manage. Shadow finally looked at her. Something unreadable in his expression. At first. And now. Agents were securing the floor. Documenting. Elena disappeared into an elevator, still smiling. Shadow's phone buzzed. He checked it. His expression shifted. There's a problem, he said quietly. What problem? It's over. No. He showed her the screen. A message. Unknown sender. 8 words. The 50 were just the audition. We start tomorrow. If you believe real power doesn't announce itself, Subscribe and see who's still watching from the shadows. Vera's blood turned to ice. Shadow pocketed his phone. Your empire's exposed, he said. Your security's compromised. Your enemies know you're vulnerable. He paused. And someone just put a bounty on both of us. Outside, sirens wailed. Her city. Her territory. Suddenly foreign. So what do we do? Shadow's expression was unreadable. We disappear. And we find out who's really been pulling the strings. He walked toward the emergency exit. Vera looked at the carnage. Her shattered empire. The bodies of people who died for her. Then she followed him into the dark.